All right, welcome in to episode 13 of D&D's two-man game. I am your host, Damon, along with my good friend and co-host, as always, Dom. Dom, how are you this Monday evening, NBA Eve?
Monday, NBA Eve. I'm so excited. I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to hold my basketball and put on my basketball shoes and never leave my bed until I watch the Lakers play the Nuggets at 4:30 p.m. tomorrow, my time. That's it.
It's at 4:30 your time.
4:30 my time. So I get to listen to it while I drive home from work.
Why is it so early?
It's so early because it's West Coast and people want to watch on the East Coast.
That's only like 7:30 East Coast, so that's interesting. 4:30 is
Yeah, but it's because there's two games. There's 4:30 and 7. So
I see.
and then like East Coast is going to be a lot
So is
later.
that like the
But
first
anyway,
game of the season?
yeah, first game of the season's at 4:30 my time. Super
A
excited.
Western Conference Finals rematch?
Matchup. Yeah,
Yeah,
rematch. Yeah, super excited about that. But yeah, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. I
I love the
sent something.
jersey.
Thank you, thank you. I sent something in the group chat that we're in about my students are taking a poll on. Did you
Yeah.
see this? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, if I should not shave for No Shave November, but I'll be completely shaven on the first day of November. So, I'm kind of dreading that. We'll see. It'll affect the visuals in the pod. If looking like the vote's going to be yes.
I'm what I'm thinking is that you shouldn't shave and then not shave for November. You should just
Just keep
keep
it going.
going. Just see how long it
Yeah.
can get. Because like why start over? That's my thing. But you do what you can. I won't participate in anything like that because I hate having a beard. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
me. That's my 2 cents.
I
So
usually shave once a week, so it'll definitely be a change for me.
yeah.
You
But
shave like every 2 days.
I have to because I don't like facial hair. Anyways, yeah, this is a facial hair talk with Dom and Damon.
That's the show.
That's the show. We're changing it.
But yes, you mentioned this, my jersey.
Yes.
Ugh. Yeah.
Lovely.
For our listeners who are not watching, first of all, go watch on YouTube or Spotify. Um, I'm wearing a Jalen Green San Diego City Rockets jersey that usually hangs up on my wall behind me for these podcasts, but instead now is my childhood Tracy McGrady Youth XL jersey in its place. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and you're also wearing a Jalen Green jersey that is green,
that
might I
is
add.
green.
A little bit. Yeah.
What about you? What do we have rocking under the Summer League hoodie today?
All right, here we go. Here we go. You ready for this? You ready for this?
I haven't seen it either. Oh, oh no.
I'm getting them out of the way. I'm getting them out of the way.
Another Clipper shirt.
Another Clipper
Back
shirt.
to
This is the
back
one.
Clipper shirt.
Well, so the reason why I wore this one, why I thought it made sense is because this was the last game of the regular season I went to last year. Actually, this was the playoffs. So I thought that was, cool to wear like the last game I went to. And now tomorrow's gonna be the first game of the season. So super excited
And you're
about it. And
going.
I'm going to a Clippers game
Yeah.
Wednesday, and I'm gonna be wearing my Blazers jumpsuit, not jumpsuit, but warm up thing that I got,
Yeah, yeah.
and I cannot wait to scream my head off and go scoot, scoot. It's gonna be doing that
Listen,
the whole time.
on the podcast, Dom Clippers fan, 2 shows in a row, Clippers shirt.
Wait till we get to the rankings, my man. Wait till we get to the rankings. We'll see how much of a Clippers fan I am.
That's fair. That's
Um,
fair.
yeah, but so yeah, we talked about it last time, but this game was this podcast. We're going to be talking about rankings, which I'm super excited for. Been had a
Rankings. Well, seeding, I guess, is a more
See,
accurate.
yes, sorry. Yeah, we're not ranking how good we think teams are. We are putting the teams where we think they're going to end up
1
at
to
the end of
15,
the season.
predicting
1 to 15, West
standings.
and East.
Yes, yes, yes.
Super
We'll get
excited,
there.
very fun. Me and Damon did this for like the last 2 years for fun. So now we get to do
Yes.
it and like, put it out in the world. So
And
it's
we
pretty
we haven't
exciting.
heard each other, so it's going to be
Yeah, we've been keeping it
live
secret,
reactions on the podcast.
which
So
is
yeah,
always a favorite of our fans. Of
yeah.
course, they love that when we do that
They
to each
the
other.
our whole fan, they really love that. Fan, one in, no S.
Sometimes too. Sometimes too.
Sometimes fans, but mostly just fan. Whoever you are,
Yeah,
thanks for listening.
yeah, yeah. And before we appreciate you listening, and if you like it, just let other people know. We're gonna be doing this during the season as well. So
Yeah, this is our
very
13th episode. in
That's crazy.
before the season starts. I mean, we
I
have been
know.
grinding the off-season content, talking about our grades, and now ranking all the positions. We
Yeah.
did centers last episode. Now we're doing conference standings, and we wanted to hit awards before the season started, but with the band tour that you had and some other stuff,
Yeah.
we didn't quite get there. But 13 episodes is all before the season starts is still amazing. Thank you
Hey,
to our
hey,
4 listeners for being there for this journey so far.
yeah, hey, I'm proud of us. Like this is not easy. So, I'm proud of us for doing this. I'm excited to see everything else we do. And we will get to awards
Next
soon.
episode, probably.
Yeah, next episode probably.
And
There's not that much
eventually, I
going to
want to
happen.
talk about the city jerseys. How many
Oh my
jerseys can I put in the F tier? We'll see. We'll see.
oh I
We'll
w- me
see.
Damon and I have been sending these leaks back and forth of these new jerseys, and it's tough.
So
Like
bad.
there's no way we're gonna have an even tier list like we
No,
did
no,
for
no.
or to try for the players. It's actually insane. And
And that's another thing we've been doing for several years, where we have
yeah, just
made
for
tier
fun.
lists and sent them to each other just because. So
I will say that remember those leaked Heat culture jerseys? They are the official city jersey for the Miami Heat.
okay. So Miami really is hit or miss on their city
Yeah, they
jerseys.
really they had a couple good, really good ones, and now they're just like, we just don't want good jerseys anymore.
But that's
Is
for
what
a
I
future episode. We'll
That's
talk
a
about
different.
jerseys
Sorry,
later.
we like jerseys here.
Tom
Before we get into
Tom's
seating
trying to
and
leave
stuff,
before 10 p.m. So we'll get there.
we're gonna get there. But before we get into the rankings of this, not rankings, excuse me, the seedings and the standings, we just some new stuff that happened this week. Today was like the last day for extensions to be signed before the season starts, since it's tomorrow. So I know Damon wants to cover some of that. We also have some earlier news pertaining to the Rockets. You want to
Yeah.
take over?
Yeah, let's just blast this news, because I do think the standings will take a while. So just get, just a couple things out the way for our casual listeners that may not know anything about the NBA. In one of my solo episodes when Dom was gone, I briefly touched on the Kevin Porter Jr. domestic abuse situation, which is obviously very bad. Since that happened, since our last episode, Kevin Porter Jr. got traded to the Thunder, and the Thunder waived him right away. So that's awesome. I'm happy that happened. Happy that the Rockets kind of cleansed their hand a bit, and the Thunder also said, "We'll take that contract and pay it, and then waive it," because they also didn't want part of it. So that's good. They got back Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who the Rockets just waived today. And
Really? Oh, okay.
yeah,
Well,
and Oladipo, who probably will never play. So it was just kind of a wipe your hands clean of it. Not like they really gained anything from it.
Yeah,
But
I think the Rockets are better for it too.
yeah,
So,
addition by subtraction.
yeah, absolutely.
So that's real quick. Don't really need to talk much about that.
Yeah. Next, just because I only know a little bit about this,
Sure.
Damon texted me this morning. So news came out that Steven Adams of the Memphis Grizzlies is going to miss the entire season this year, which
D-tier
is
center.
D tier, but A tier in our hearts.
A tier hearts for sure.
And that's just a big blow to the Grizzlies, who really needed somebody down big, especially in the postseason. They just couldn't match up against the Lakers in their size. So they're gonna be that's the whole season of him. So I definitely went back to my seedings and reevaluated.
Yeah. I would say like more on this when we talk about the Grizzlies in our
Yes.
standings. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that. But yeah, so it just sucks. He had a knee injury in January, and they were hoping that it would just take some rehabilitation to get it right, but it just isn't. So he needs surgery, and that will unfortunately end his season early this year.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, real shame.
But on a more positive note, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 3-year, $186 million max extension, so $62 million a year. Obviously, that's not really how it works. It's like 60, 62, 64. It increases over time or whatever. I think a player option in the last year. So this is another thing I talked about during one of the solo episodes, was like Giannis coming out and being like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to stay in Milwaukee, if they want to win, blah, blah, blah." Then, of course, they made the Damian Lillard trade, which we talked about back in episode 10, I think. And now he's like, "All right, I guess they do want to win. I'll go ahead and sign this extension." So, a sigh of relief for Bucks fans everywhere.
Yeah, and 3 years is definitely a solid amount, I think, for him with a player option. So gives him room. It gives him room to be comfortable, and and if he likes what's going on or doesn't, then it's kind of easy for him to kind of maneuver his way out or to stay in. So I think it's a good contract. I mean, obviously he's a max player,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
good for them.
he was, I think he was our top power forward, probably a top 3 player in the NBA, top 5 player. Yeah, I mean, obviously
Absolutely.
you give him all the money, and there's no question about that.
Yeah.
A little bit of lesser news, but Zach Collins, 2-year, 35 million for the Spurs. He's had a good resurgence. There was like a 2.5 year period in his career where he only played like 10 games because he had like 2 season-ending injuries early in his Blazers career. So he
Mhm.
seems younger than he actually is. I want to say he's like 25, 26, but it seems like he'd be like 22 because like you feel like you've barely seen him, but that's because he was injured for so long. Um,
Yeah.
but good value deal. We talked about Vassell earlier this offseason. Now Collins seems like they're kind of getting the guys they want to put about Wembanyama, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and during the preseason I watched him and Wembanyama seemed like they had a chemistry going and they worked really well together. Zach stretching the floor and Wemby can stretch the floor too. So yeah, I think it's a good deal. I am excited.
Yeah. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to go through rookie extensions. So
Okay.
for our listeners that don't know, today, the day before the season starts, is the deadline for rookies to be extended. If they don't get extended by tonight, basically, they go into restricted free agency this offseason, which of course teams can then match the offers, but a lot of teams like to get ahead of it and extend before that even happens. So a lot of extensions were done today, but I'm just going to kind of go through them, even the ones that were done previously. And basically, I'm going to do it in sections. So I want to read off a couple to you.
Okay.
And I want you to maybe choose one or two that you're like, this is interesting to me. And then we can
Okay.
talk about it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
The first three, I don't think we really need to talk about. They were not done. They were done a long time ago.
Okay.
First overall pick from the 2020 draft class, Anthony Edwards, 5-year max extension. That already has been done. Yes, he deserves it. We know this.
Yes.
Second overall pick from that year, we'll get to. Third overall pick, LaMelo Ball, max extension. That's been done. Don't really need to
Right.
talk about that. He's awesome. Um, Tyrese Halliburton, 5 years, max extension. Done. Right. Those three have been done for a while. They are obviously all probably the top 3 players in the class so far these 3 years. So I think, all of those, there's like, yep, that's what you do. You give them all the money because that's going to be your guy. So
Yeah, absolutely. I like all those for sure.
then let me hit a couple more that have already been done. Devin Vassell, we talked about that a couple episodes ago. 5 years, 135 million. Desmond Bane, 5 years, 197 million. A big contract for Desmond Bane. And then Isaiah Stewart, 4 years, 60 million. That was like the first Pistons rookie to get extended
Yeah.
in forever.
Yeah, that was crazy. But I mean, awesome. Yeah.
And then Peyton Pritchard, 4 years, 30 million. So those are all ones that we've probably talked
Right.
about before. Um,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
just to kind of tell you what draft class. Okay, here are the new ones.
Okay,
And
let's do it.
and these are the ones that, I'm going to go through them all, and then maybe there's one or two that sticks out to you. They pay too much. Why did they extend that guy? Is that, or maybe, somebody that's a great value.
Okay.
And I don't know how many of these you've seen. Um,
I saw a few, but not that many.
okay. I'm gonna just go. It's gonna sort of by price. Do you
Okay,
want
let's do
the
it.
lower prices first or the bigger prices first?
Lower to higher.
Lower to higher. Okay. Zeke Nnaji for the Nuggets, 4 years, 30 million. Aaron Nesmith on the Pacers, 3 years, 33 million. Drafted by the Celtics, but is on the Pacers now. Cole Anthony for the Magic, 3 years, 39 million. Josh Green for the Mavericks, 3 years, 41 million. Denny Abdia for the Wizards, 4 years, 55 million. Onyeka Okongwu for the Hawks, 4 years, 62 million. And last but certainly not least, Jaden McDaniels for the Timberwolves, 5 years, 131 million. Let me
Yeah,
hear some
okay.
thoughts on some of these.
Okay, just real quick. the first two, Nanaji and Neesmith, I think are good deals. I watched a little bit of both of them in preseason, and Pacers are a growing team, and Neesmith had some like moments last year, so I think I'm fine with that for him. Nanaji seemed like a pretty good backup to Jokic, since they have, besides him, they have DeAndre Jordan. So it's good to like. I know they drafted him as kind of like their as a work in progress, and he's been on there since 2020, I believe. So happy for them and whatnot. What was the Deni Avdija was one. Okay, so I thought the 4 years was a little long I think 4 years is, because I don't think he's really, I know he's still trying to work his way out of the shell. Maybe this year is going to be that year that he breaks out without any stars there, really. It's Deni Avdija, Jordan Poole, Kuzma, Tyus Jones. I mean, like, anything can go with them. Okay, well, I did the Jaden McDaniels one. Okay, so obviously he is a great defender,
Great
and
defender for sure.
great defender. And I actually read a tweet, not a tweet, sorry, a quote from Anthony Edwards saying that Jaden McDaniels is just the reason why the Timberwolves are going to succeed and why they are going to be good. And he's like the heart of their defense. And I thought that was very nice to see, two younger players just, no ego. They're just like, they want to win. They're on the same team. They're there for each other. 5 years, 131 million is a lot. Probably because I say that because they probably could have got him a lot cheaper. Not a lot, but that's more, that's what, 20 something million a year. They could have got him for 20 million, like, or less, like it's a little insane. And I also read that this is going to push them into the luxury tax.
Oh, it sure is.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty, for being a play-in team last year, they're like putting in a lot of money into this year. And I mean, we could talk about their success when we get to the seedings and whatnot.
Edwards on a max, Cat is on the super max, Gobert is on the max, and now McDaniels 130 million. So
he's like right under the max, it seems like.
I mean, that is
at least they avoided that. Woo!
I think so. For LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, and Halliburton, they all got the max rookie extension, which is going to end up somewhere in between 217 and 260 million. Because of the new CBA rules that are probably going to come when they get a new TV deal, the salary cap is probably going to jump dramatically.
Right.
So they don't know exactly, because like when you sign a max, it's like you get 30. I think it's 30%. You get 30% of the salary cap. That's how it works. So they don't know exactly how much it's going to be worth because the salary cap's going to jump.
Exactly. Okay, I got you. So I mean, okay, so he's not close to the max, but he's still getting a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
That's a lot of money. What was the one I didn't touch on?
Okay. We hadn't hit Cole Anthony, 3 years, 39. Josh Green, 3 years, 41.
Josh Green, awesome. I like Josh Green a lot.
Yeah,
great deal. I think that's a great deal for the Mavericks.
Especially wing players, hard to find.
Literally about to say that. You took the words out of my mouth. Especially it's nice that he was drafted by the Mavericks and he's staying on the Mavericks. He knows Luka, he knows the system. So that was really cool to see. And then Cole Anthony, I mean, the Magic, like I said, are just guard loaded, but Cole Anthony's been one of the better ones.
So, I was a little taken aback by the deal. I thought
really
maybe they think it's good value. Like 13 million a year is like, especially, excuse me, if the salary cap's gonna jump. Just because, like you said, they're guard loaded. It's like, oh, we have Bolts, and we just drafted Anthony Black, and we have Jet Howard, and we have Jalen Suggs, all these different guards. It's like, do we have to pay this guy right now, or can we wait until restricted free agency? I guess the worry is he has a really good year and then you have to pay him more. So like by getting him this deal right now, it's like, okay.
And he probably has a really good agent. I was like, hey, my man's about to blow up. You don't know. So the Magic were like, you're right. We have to sign him right now. I see what you're saying. I think from what I watched the Magic last year, which wasn't a lot, seemed like I saw a lot of Cole Anthony, a lot of Markelle Fultz play. So it seems like they're kind of doubling down on those guys.
But then they drafted a point guard with the number 6 pick.
Look, yeah, I agree, and I think they might want to have some like healthy competition between their guards, and
Sure.
but I think Cole Anthony at 13 million is fine.
Fine. Yeah.
It's fine, and I think the Magic had the money to do it. They're not really like paying no max contract, not like the Timberwolves, so not to
I
worry
mean,
about that too much.
yeah, it's so interesting. Like,
It might bite them in the ass later when they have like Franz Wagner and they got to like worry
oh yeah,
about like
they're gonna have to
you
start
know
paying every year.
yeah. So maybe
Franz
they'll be like,
Wagner,
why do we give
max.
Cole Anthony 13 million a year? But
It's
but I see what you mean. They could have got him cheaper, and they probably didn't have to sign him right now. So
and then a Kongwu 4 years, 62 million.
I mean, love it.
That's a great
Good
deal.
value.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He
He's
probably deserves more, but
especially if ideally in the future, right? He's going to be their starting center. They'll move on
yeah,
from Capella, who I think is making 20 million a year right now. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah. No, I like that a lot. We talked about it in the last pod that we
oh,
liked
oh
Okongwu a
yeah,
lot.
I was like, this happened before the last pod. I thought this was new. Um,
Yeah, no, so yeah, I think that's great value, and he's gonna prove his worth. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I don't think he's going anywhere. Seems like they like him and he fits well
I
with everyone
do.
there.
I want to quickly point out LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese, all max players. You totally agree, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Desmond Bain, 5 years, 200 million. He's awesome. I'm fine with that too.
Yeah.
And then you get the jump here, $60 million jump. Devin Vassell, Jaden McDaniels. Okay. Then you get a $70 million jump to the rest of the guys that got extensions.
That is
That's so
crazy.
interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, no James Wiseman, obviously. But I mean,
So
I noticed you were talking about like the first,
this
few picks.
this is the second thing I wanted to go through with you.
Okay.
People that didn't get deals. I think this is interesting. I just want to read
Okay.
you the names of every first round pick that didn't get an extension. Because obviously,
Okay. Go.
second round picks they're unrestricted, so they don't. This doesn't really happen. First of all, Jalen Smith, Leandro Balmaro, R.J. Hampton, Udoka Azubuike, they didn't even make it through their first contract, so we don't
Yeah.
have to. They didn't even last the rookie deal, so their team options were declined and they were waived or
Yeah.
whatever happened to them. Anyways, let's go through people that are going to go into restricted free agency this offseason. And again, if you just want to take we don't have to talk about all of them, but if you just want to take a couple that you'll find
Sounds
interesting.
good. Yeah. I'll make a note.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. James Wiseman, number 2 pick. Patrick Williams, number 4 pick. Isaac Okoro, number 5. Killian Hayes, number 7. Obi Toppin, number 8. Kira Lewis Jr., number 13. Pelicans. Alexej Pokusevsky, number 17. Thunder. Sadiq Bey, who is drafted by the Pistons, now on the Hawks. Precious Achua, who's drafted by the Heat, is now on the Raptors. Tyrese Maxey, Emmanuel Quickly, Malachi Flynn. Those are the remainder of the first round 2020 picks.
Okay. Interesting list. I want to thank you first of all for doing that because I didn't even cross my mind. So
Yeah.
a lot of them made sense. I wrote down a couple that I think are interesting. I wrote down Patrick Williams because I think the Bulls are probably going to blow it up soon.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, I would hope that they would want to keep one of the younger guys that's been there, and they did draft him really pretty high,
Yeah.
which most people didn't expect.
Right.
Precious Achua,
I think.
yeah. He's been pretty solid, and the Raptors, I mean, are probably gonna blow it up. Siakam will probably be leaving. Like they'll probably go to the young guys, Scotty Barnes and whatnot. And I think he fits really well with them. So interesting. I wonder if they probably just don't think he's gonna make an impact, so they could get him, cheaper.
I know from my minor Raptors knowledge, last year he had moments where he was taken out of the rotation. So I don't know. And it was mostly after they traded for Jakob Poeltl.
That makes sense. Poeltl, and then you got Chris Boucher still, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Chris Boucher still on the roster. Yeah, so he was struggling to find minutes here and there. That could be it, I suppose.
So maybe that makes sense. A bit more sense. But I always liked him, so hopefully he finds his footing. The next two I thought were really interesting. Tyrese Maxey and Emmanuel Quickly. I knew you knew I was going to talk about that. This is interesting. So I think you might know better about motivations from teams and players, maybe, but I feel like if I was Tyrese Maxey, um, I wonder, do you know if they had negotiations and nothing happened, or if they didn't even talk? Like, I guess you probably don't know that much, but
Yeah, I don't know. What I don't understand is, I guess like maybe the Sixers are a little hesitant giving him the max. That's what you would want, right? Like I know he hasn't
but
been an all-star.
why?
Like he hasn't been an all-star like Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, LaMelo. They've all at least been an all-star already. Um, Bane has been really rock solid. He got the like near 200 million deal, but when you're dealing with this James Harden situation, I feel like you need to just like, all right, let me just lock this guy down. So like,
That's where
so
I
we don't
was
have to
gonna.
deal with it.
That's exactly where I was gonna go with that. Is you lose? Okay, let's say worst happens. I mean, you're gonna lose James Harden probably at some point. Next year comes around, Tyrese Maxey gets offered a max somewhere, and they can't afford him or whatever. Then you lose him. Like I feel like maybe Tyrese Maxey wouldn't get the max. I think he's worth it. It's in his name, for Christ's sake. Um, and yeah, I know you like that one. And I think he's worth it, but even offering him something like Desmond Bain or maybe a little bit
Yeah.
more, I think will make a lot of sense. They've had a lot of success with him and Embiid. Like obviously you want to keep him around too as the reigning MVP. And he's expressed, I think, similarly to kind of like Giannis, like I want to win. So I don't know if it's Philadelphia, things like that. So that was interesting to me. I wish I'm sure more will come out about that in the coming weeks because I don't think that's just something that's gonna like.
And I mean, he's young enough too that even if that happens where Embiid forces his way out, he can be your piece for, the next
Yeah,
generation. He was drafted in 2020. It wasn't that long ago. He's
right.
23 maybe, he's not old. Um,
Yeah,
so
I definitely think he's worth that money. But then Emmanuel quickly has been very this is very another interesting one to me because I like him a lot, especially
yeah.
as a backup point guard with Jalen Brunson on the Knicks. I just wonder, are they trying to save money somewhere down the line? And maybe I don't want to say like they're hoping that he has a bad year, but maybe he doesn't have a good year as last year, and maybe they can keep him around for cheaper at the end of the season. I don't, I don't know, and I just wish I knew more how teams work and the money works. Like I don't know how much the Knicks are spending right now, but they do have Brunson, Julius Randle,
They got a
RJ
lot in the books. They
Barrett.
gave RJ a big
Yeah,
contract last offseason.
yeah. So I'm just curious where a lot of the other money is going, but that would be my guess. And I hope, I mean, I hope IQ just goes off. I love his game. I think it's great.
Something I want to touch on too with the Knicks is you give Emmanuel quickly, I don't know, 20 million a year. I don't know if that's fair. Probably. Although Jaden McDaniels is going to get more than that. And
Crazy.
like you have him on your roster and you really want to go all in to trade for the next disgruntled star. Maybe it's an Embiid or whoever. You know what's great for that is a $20 million contract you can throw to get up to that star level contract. So yeah, I think it, I don't know why he wouldn't be extended. I don't I feel like it's not for lack of effort. I feel like
Absolutely not. Yeah.
um they would want to. I just don't know if it was a value thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm interested. And I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out on those two because I think they both will have good seasons. So interesting to see. But again, thank you for bringing that up because that's something I never even would have thought of.
Yeah,
That's why we do this. That's why I
that's why there's
like
two of us.
talking to you about this. Exactly. And it's a two-man game. But yeah, that was all the rookie deals,
That was all.
right?
Yeah, that was all I wanted to talk about. That is just kind of quickly go through who's extended.
Is it time?
It's time. It's
It's
time.
time. All
Cue
right.
the
So
sound
Damon,
effect.
boo. Um,
Thanks.
that was a sound effect. You're welcome. Damon and I talked a little bit about how we're going to go through these seedings, and I'll just go over that real quickly.
Sure.
Basically, we're gonna start with the East because it's to both of us it seemed a little bit easier to get through. The West is very loaded, which I'm sure if you watch basketball, you know. And if you don't, now you know the West is pretty loaded. And we're going to start the East, and we're going to go from our 15th seed all the way to the first, and we're going to take turns switching off.
Yes.
And we're gonna just talk a little bit about each team. We're not going to dive in. I'm not talking about 10 minutes about the Lakers. It's not going to happen. I know it's what you want. It's not going to happen. There's other podcasts that talk about that. We're talking about the other
It's
teams.
called what's that show you listen to called?
Lakers Nation, baby.
Lakers Nation.
Shout out Trevor Lane.
No free ads.
No free ads. Yeah, pay me.
Bring us on. Let's do a we'll bring you on our show. You bring us on your show. You get our 4 viewers. Exactly. We get your thousands of viewers. So
exactly, that's how it works. Exactly, vis-a-vis. So that's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do the East. We're gonna go into the West, and then at the end we'll probably just do a little recap. And that'll be the show. I'm very
excited. Some hot takes on here. I hear
we have hot takes.
Dom and I have not seen each other's standings. I think I said that already. Actually, I'm sorry.
You did say that, but it's good for everyone to know that again. So these are live reactions. I would like Damon to start first.
Okay, you want me to start with my 15th seed in the East?
I do, please.
And okay, I know you just explained this. I'm gonna start, and then I'm gonna start my timer, and then I'm gonna talk for a minute, and then I'm gonna say, "What do you think about that team?"
Got it.
And then you're gonna say where you have them.
Oh, you're gonna say where?
If not agreeing with me, or
okay. So like, if you say Celtics, like 15th seed, and I'm like, oh, I have them here. You want me to say that?
What do you think?
Is that or do we just want to go
just go in order?
15, 15. Yeah, I think we just go in order.
Okay. So I say I'm at 15, here's my team, and then you say, okay, here's my team at 15. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I think that'd be fun. And then
you
can kind of a little bit like why and whatnot. Okay. And let's see if we get any matches. I think that's fun too.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a quick scan here. I'm looking. I don't love my list. Let me say before we start, I think for both conferences, like actually let me break it up. For the East, like literally like 7 to 14 was hard. And then for the West, like you know what? It's like 5 to 11 in the West. Like 7 to 14 in the East, and like 5 to 11 in the West. Hard, so difficult. Yeah. Anyways, 15. I don't think. Okay, let me just see my timer. 15. I have the Washington Wizards as the worst team.
Me too, baby. Me too. Right. Let's go.
So here's the thing about the Wizards. Okay, I think Jordan Poole, talented offensively. Kyle Kuzma, talented offensively. They won 37 games last year with Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis having like the best season of his career. They don't have a player nearly of that caliber anymore. Watching Jordan Poole in the preseason is painful. The guy doesn't pass the ball to his teammates. He just
chucking it up.
Chucking it up. I'm like, you drafted Corey Kispert, who's over there doing this in the corner, just holding his hands up, waiting for a pass. It doesn't happen. It's very, I think they have a collection of players that could be okay, but none of them have like a concise role. I think it's going to be a lot of, trying to figure out who the individual players are rather than like team basketball. So it's like the Celtics, how they play iso ball, except all the players are not good. So I think they're going to be really bad, and they need to be really bad because they need to get like a blue chip prospect.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I had the Washington Wizards as my 15th pick in the East as well, for all the same reasons you said. I just don't think they have anyone that elevates them to anything. They're not going to be a winning team. They're going to be worse than last year. And they have a lot of players that are really good role players, I think, for other teams. But I think they just don't have it compared to the other teams. And that's a testament because the Wizards are not bad compared to like a G League team. But, compared to like the next couple, they're kind of bad. They have no defense whatsoever. So that is what it is. And, I'll watch a couple of games maybe here and there because it'll be fun. They're going to be offensive. There's Kuz and Poole throwing up shots, and then it'll get old. And then next season will start. And then we'll go from there. So that's it for the 15th seed.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, so cool. So now, nice. Okay, good start. Now here we go. 14th seed for the East. I have the Charlotte Hornets.
Interesting. Okay.
So you don't have the same, which is fine.
I don't have
I have the Hornets. I have the Hornets because I don't think they have an identity, and I don't know how their team is going to look, especially after so many players have just didn't play a lot last year. Like LaMelo, even Miles Bridges. Brandon Miller is going to try to improve himself, but I just don't think they have an identity. And Gordon Hayward is not that culture piece that's going to really help with that. And I think they're just still trying to figure it out. I have hope for them in the future, but right now I just don't see it. I think the other teams are better. That's it.
Yeah, so my 14th seed, I have the Detroit Pistons. I think the Pistons, I like some of their pieces. I just think when comparing them to the Hornets, I think LaMelo Ball is like the best player if you compare both teams, and I think he can maybe lead them to some wins. He wasn't there a lot last year, which sucked. I do think the Pistons, though, I think the thing that concerns me most about their team is their front court identity. It's like they have Jalen Duren, they have Wiseman, they have Bagley, and they have Stewart, and like all of them are centers and none of them are power forwards. And Bogdanovich is like really their only power forward, but he's 34 and old, so how much will he play? I feel like they're going to be bad this year because they are going to do a lot of trying to figure out. I think the amount of games Cade has missed in his first couple seasons, have probably hindered the growth people wanted to see from him. And I think this season, hopefully, him and Ivy can play a lot together and be healthy. And I think they'll be fun to watch. I just think it might not amount to wins, kind of like the Rockets in the last couple of years.
For sure. I get that. And what do you have at your 13th pick?
My 13th pick, I have the Charlotte Hornets. Yeah, so
That's so funny because I had the Detroit Pistons as my 13th pick. So boom.
so we just swapped there. Yeah.
So
I think I just think about the individual talent. I think, LaMelo just kind of is above everybody. He made an all-star his second year. I think he was injured a lot last year, and they had a lot of issues. They had a lot of issues with the, offseason Kai Jones, that whole thing. But I think they have pieces now. Mark Williams, they just drafted Brandon Miller, the second overall pick. They have guys that I think will come in and contribute. Hopefully, get a healthy season from Gordon Hayward. They have some veteran presence that I think can hopefully push them in the right direction. I feel like the off the court issues of like Kai Jones and those guys maybe will actually inspire the Hornets, and hopefully they can kind of come in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. That being said, 13 seed is not exactly shooting for glory. But yeah, that's what I got on them.
Makes
what about
total
you?
sense.
What is?
Yeah, so I had the Detroit Pistons.
Yes, you said that.
Yeah, so I had the Detroit Pistons. And I understand all your points. I just think they're younger and are coming from a place like we want to just ball. We want to prove ourselves. I think Asar looks great. Cade Cunningham is going to be playmaking out of his mind. The front court issues are there, but I have a feeling they'll have fun with it and figure it out throughout the season. So that's why I don't have them, higher than that. Last year, I was very optimistic about them. This year, I'm a bit more realistic, and I get it. They're going to be fun. And yeah, I just think they're going to get more wins than the Hornets. But you are right. LaMelo Ball is probably the best player between both teams. Yeah.
What about your number 12? Number 12, let's hear it.
Number 12, I have the Toronto Raptors.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so Toronto has always surprised me in the seasons. I always rank them a little bit lower, and they always end up higher somehow. And I don't get it, but I'm okay with that. I mean, I think they're a team that's gonna be. This is gonna be a trend in my seedings. They don't have an identity because they're like losing a lot of the veteran people, or they're going to leave, and they have some newer players, and they're paying Pirtle and Schroeder, but then what is Scotty Barnes and doing there and things like that. So I just don't see how they're going to get a lot of wins this year, and I think they'll be good, and they'll probably give some teams an issue, but I just don't think they're going to have as many wins and losses.
Yeah. My 12, also the Toronto Raptors. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. When I first made this, I had him at 14. I was all in on like the Raptors starting 2-10, like the Lakers last year, and then just trading Siakam and trading Schroeder and like trade as trading Birtle and just going full rebuild. That was the idea when I had that ranking. I think with Siakam and OG and those guys, I think there's enough talent there to get more wins than the Hornets and Pistons that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But I think some of the teams that we'll talk about later have a little more upside, or I think they'll be more consistent throughout the season. Whereas the Raptors, I feel like there's a lot of question marks going in on their identity and their future. I think it's pretty clear you have Scotty Barnes as the guy you want to build around for the future. But you have these older guys from the old championship team, and then for some reason you signed Schroeder. For some reason you traded a first round pick for Jakob Poeltl, and when I think it was pretty obvious you weren't going to compete in the East anyways. So hopefully the Raptors decide to kind of start tearing it down this year.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love that we already have like okay, our basically our bottom four
We're
similar,
there,
very similar enough, basically the same. Okay, what about 11?
yeah. This is difficult.
Okay, yeah.
Because I want to have this team higher.
Tell me. I want to be the same team. Come on.
I have the Orlando Magic at number 11. Okay.
Okay.
I'm excited about the Magic. I like Paolo. I like Franz. I think they're great players.
Mhm.
Just some of the teams I have above them, I think, have a lot more win now potential. Like basically the three teams I'll talk about after this, I think.
Yeah.
I think the Magic, they had a rough start last year, and then I think they basically finished the last, I don't know, it was like the last 60 games. They basically finished like a 500 record, but their start was so bad that they missed the playoffs. Having them at 11 is tough because I can really see this team as a play-in team for sure. I could definitely see one of the three teams I talk about after this falling down. I just think I don't know the direction that those teams are going to take. And I think for now, assuming they'll try to win, I think they have a little bit better win now talent.
Got it. Totally reasonable. I had a little bit of a difficult time around here as well, like kind of at the bottom of the plan. I have the Chicago Bulls
Ooh,
as my 11th.
wow. Okay.
For like you said, they probably have a lot of win now potential. They have Daggers and DeRozan, who will win you a game at the buzzer if needed, and got Vucevic, who's a great offensively. Levine, Alex Caruso is probably, I think he's healthy. He's gonna play the whole year, hopefully. So you have that defensive anchor, but there's just a hole missing, and Javon Carter does not fill that hole. And I just don't. I think your defense lacks, and I think they're going to be competitive. I think in the beginning of the season, and then they're going to fall off, and eventually, kind of like the Mavericks last year, I think they're going to fall out of the playoffs entirely.
That's fair.
And that's just what I think. That's my first hot take of this
I don't think it's too hot. I don't think it's too hot.
Okay, not too hot, a little warm,
What about your number 10? Let me hear your number 10.
Number 10, here we go. It is the Orlando Magic.
Ah, yes. Okay. I was only one off.
Yeah, exactly. So Orlando, a lot of, like you said, I'm very excited about them. They're a team I'm going to watch this year for the first time in a long time. And I'm very excited about, a lot of their younger players. And I think they have the potential, and they're also going to be fun. I think there's not a lot of expectations, so I think they're going to be better even because of that. No one's expecting them to be in the playoffs or the play-in, so I think they're just going to hoop, and they're going to be fun to watch, and they're going to get enough wins to make it in the play-in. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? We'll see how it ends up. But right now, I think they're going to end up at the 10th seed. Who did you have at the 10?
At 10, I have the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, I have the Nets. I don't know if this is kind of low. Here's the thing about the Nets. I think about their team. I think about Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, the resurgence of Ben Simmons, Nick Claxton. Mikal Bridges is like the only guy that really excites me. Like I think he can definitely make an all-star type jump. I think everyone around could, perhaps be decent role players. I'm a little worried about the size. I think, Claxton is a skinny center. Ben Simmons is like not really a center. He just kind of plays big man minutes sometimes. And they have like Day'Ron Sharpe, who's kind of short for a center. So I'm worried about like the rebounding. And rebounding, I feel like, is such an underrated thing in basketball because you need to grab the ball in order to score and to start your possessions. And I'm very worried about that. Really, I think the only reason I didn't have this team lower is because they owe their pick to the Rockets. And I feel like they're gonna try to win. I just don't, like they fell kind of far after Kevin Durant and Kyrie got traded. Like they were a pretty high seed. So I could definitely see them struggling this year.
Yeah, all great points. I'll talk about what I think about the Nets when we get to my ranking of them. But
You get to them
who do
as
you
the three
have?
seed.
Just wait, just you wait. Who do you have at number 9?
Number 9, the Chicago Bulls. This is where I have the Bulls.
Okay, okay, okay.
Not too far from where you had them. Two apart. That's been our largest gap so far. Um,
Crazy.
yeah, I think the thing I'll touch on that I didn't hear you talk too much about, filling that hole you talked about, Javon Carter, I think is the surgence of Kobe White. Kobe White's coming. I actually think he might start for them, which we ranked Javon Carter as the starting point guard, but who cares? Kobe
Same
White,
spot.
I think will provide much needed spacing for DeRozan, and who's not really a shooter, and Williams, who's kind of struggled throughout his career. Um, yeah, it's like you think of the starting five: Kobe White, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Vucevic. It's like that should be a relatively good team. Um, Caruso off the bench, uh, Javonte Green, other people. I worry a little bit about the depth, especially if one of their guys starts to miss time. But I think, they'll try to have like another season of mediocrity like they've had the last 2 years.
Yeah. Totally makes sense. And like I see the Bulls making it all the way to number 9. You know what I mean? Like anything could happen. Who I have at number 9 is the Miami Heat.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think I think they're going to be a play-in team for sure. I don't know where they're going to be, 7, 10, somewhere in there. They are all very good in the postseason. Obviously, they went all the way to the finals last year.
As the
I
eighth
think
seed.
as the eighth
Yeah,
seed,
yeah.
exactly. So I just think they didn't make any improvements, right? And I think last year I didn't feel like they made really many improvements either, but everyone was surprised by it. Now they're like, okay, we know the Miami Heat are serious, so we're going to like make sure we're ready for them. So I see them as the play-in. Will they make it in the playoffs? Anything can happen again. But I'm more excited about the other teams, and I think the other teams are just going to be better in the regular season. I think they just have more people to help them out, whereas Jimmy and Bam and Tyler are just a little bit hung out to dry. Is my
I
my
hear you.
look, and yeah. But you know who I think is going to be awesome this year, and number 8,
Yeah.
Indiana Pacers.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So it's not a secret. We're big fans of Tyrese Halliburton. I think the
Yes.
addition of Bruce Brown, Obi Toppin, it's going to be really fun. Miles Turner, great center as we ranked him. Buddy Hield, great. You got TJ McConnell off the bench. This is a team that is going to have fun playing basketball, and they're going to win basketball games. They have youth on their side. They're younger. They have, pretty good defenders. I don't see them getting any higher than like the 8th seed or 7th seed, but I think they're finally going to be in talks again of the playoffs, which is exciting, I think.
Gotcha. I hear you. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Excuse
So
me.
who do you got at the 8th seed?
My eighth seed is the Miami Heat, who you just talked about as the ninth seed. So
Okay.
yeah, I think Miami, like you said, they did make any improvements. I think they actually definitively got worse with the
Yeah.
loss of Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, two guys that were critical rotation players for these guys in the finals. Yes, they didn't have Tyler Hero. He'll be back for the full season. Of course, we're predicting regular season records, so it's not like we're predicting Miami is a play and exit. Maybe we'll get there once we get come playoff time. We'll have playoff predictions, but in terms of regular season records, I think 8 seed last year. I think a couple years ago they were the 6 seed. Like they're not known for being regular season killers. I do think like 2 years ago they were the number 1 seed.
Yeah,
But
exactly. But
like it doesn't happen often, and I do worry with the lack of depth for this team. You have a Jimmy Butler injury, a Bam injury, and it's going to be hard to win some games.
yeah, I totally agree with you. And I see them as an 8th seed possibility as well.
Yeah,
But what I'm really interested in, Damon,
yeah.
is your 7th seed.
My 7 seed. I'm so glad we're both high on this team. It's the Pacers. Uh,
Yes. Okay. Cool. Cool. Cool.
yeah,
Love
I
it.
got the Pacers all the way up at 7. I'm really high on them. I think, I did this list a couple of times. I had them at 11 at one point. And I said, actually, I think they're better than the Nets. The three teams I was alluding to earlier, the Nets, Bulls, and Heat, they're the three teams that kind of have present talent, but I don't exactly know what their upside is. Um, I think the present talent for the Pacers is great, and the upside is also great.
Hmm.
They were like really in there fighting last year before Tyrese Halliburton went out for the season with an injury. And I think they just got better. I'm excited about their draft picks. I'm excited about, Obi Toppin. I hear Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Mathurin, Toppin, Miles Turner. Like that's a really exciting starting five. You got other guys, Jarris Walker, McConnell, who you mentioned. A lot of guys on this team to be excited about. Definitely one of the more like league pass teams, when people talk about like, oh, who are you gonna catch on league pass? It's these guys. I think they'll be really fun to watch.
Absolutely. And you know what's so funny? My seventh seed, Brooklyn
The
Nets.
Nets.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so literally like we have basically our bottom
Yeah, yeah.
our bottom nine are all the same teams essentially. That's so funny.
This is the biggest
Looking
gap though. I had him at 10. You had him at 7.
yeah, so this is gonna be, I'm looking at my list, and maybe this is something I would reevaluate if I did another look over, but I very much did this in the moment. I just wanted to kind of what I feel like, and I feel like the Nets, like you mentioned earlier, they're gonna try to play to win, and I think they have the pieces for that. You mentioned you're worried about their size, and I think that's a really good point. But I think they also have really good size considering wings and Mikal Bridges and Ben Simmons, like you said. I wish their bench was better. That's probably like the one thing I'm a little bit concerned about. I know they have Cam Thomas, who is awesome and a bucket, but I don't know. I just want to have faith in the Nets, and I think they will win a lot of games in the regular season because people don't know what to expect from them, and I think people might be able to catch some teams off guard. So, but they're definitely a play-in team for me. So
It means our top 6 are the same. I do want to point out, maybe I'm a little more pessimistic on the Nets as the hopeful Rockets fan that has their pick. I don't know if that, played a
there
part
you
in my
go.
brain. But
Yeah,
I'm
totally fine.
excited. I'm really excited that we have the same top 6. That's very exciting. I don't think
This
that'll
is
happen in
awesome.
the West. I really don't.
I don't
Um,
think so either.
but I'm excited to hear who you have at 6.
Who I have as a sixth seed next year, the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
Yep, I have the Hawks. So they are a team who, they went all the way to Eastern Conference Finals a few years ago. They got DeJounte Murray. Last year was a little bit rocky. They were trying to figure out their backcourt, and I think they got a year under their belt. I think they have learned their game a little bit better. I'm just concerned. The reason why they're not higher is Trae Young is a liability. I like a lot of the players around them. I like Sadiq Bey. I like Bogdanovich. We like Okongwu. I think they have a really good team around them. I just don't. I see the other teams better. That's basically it. But I think they're a playoff team for sure. Who do you have as the sixth seed?
At the 6th seed, I don't know if this is a hot take. I got the Philadelphia 76ers.
Wow. Go. You go. Sorry.
Yeah, so I actually had the Hawks when I first made this as the 6th seed. And then I thought about all of the, James Harden turmoil and what is going on with this franchise. When is that going to be solved? What happens if Embiid gets an injury and misses 20 games? Are they totally screwed? Um, Things like that is kind of what came into my mind when considering this. I think, Embiid coming off an MVP year, obviously a massive talent. James Harden was there for most of that year. I think, more likely than not, he doesn't end the year as a Sixer, but we'll see. Maxey, we talked about earlier, really good. Tobias Harris is fine. I'm a little worried about their depth. I do think they have some good pieces like D'Anthony Melton who can play a critical role in case James Harden doesn't show up. Um, but yeah, when trying to sort out the top 6, I just thought the turmoil and inconsistency could be the downfall in the regular season for this team.
Yeah, makes total sense. I get that totally. Who do you think is going to be the fifth seed though?
This is where I have the Atlanta Hawks, um,
Okay.
number 5. So yeah, so not too far off of your prediction. I think my favorite thing about the Hawks is the opposite of what we just talked about for the Sixers. They're very consistent, I think. They got rid of John Collins, who has been on the 3-year trade block, it seems like, and I think now that that's finally done, pretty much the rest of their roster is the same. Um, they come in the year with Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, another year, a year together now. They have Saddiq Bey, who they traded for last year, Hunter, who they drafted a couple of years ago, Capella, Conley you mentioned, Bogdanovich. A lot of guys that are good, I think. It is a good roster. I think they're, top 7 or 8 can definitely hold up for the regular season. Not a ton of injury concerns, except maybe Capella, but that's why they have O'Connell to kind of fill in that spot. So I think this team, having most of its core kind of still intact from last year and more chemistry, I think can have a better regular season than last year.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Obviously. Um,
But who
but
did
yeah.
you have at 5?
But who I had at 5 is the New York Knicks.
Okay, the Knicks. Yeah.
So similar to last year's seeding, I looked at last year's, and after I did it, I was like, oh, interesting. But I think the Knicks are gonna be good like they have been the last 2 years, especially with Brunson. Now that he's a bit more comfortable in that system, and obviously, I like IQ coming off the bench. Got RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson. I think they're just a solid regular season team. I really, really hope they address their postseason problems. Because that has been they always are first round, second round exits. And I think that's where they need to work on mostly. But regular season, they're pretty damn good. So yeah, I think they're still going to be relatively high in the East. But oh
What
yeah,
about
that's my fourth seed.
your
My
number
fourth seed,
4?
right?
Let's hear it. Yeah.
Number 4 is where I have the Philadelphia
Okay.
76ers.
So we
Yeah.
just a little shuffling of those 3.
Yeah, and the reason why I had them a little bit higher than you, although I totally see a 6th seed possibility, I think James Harden will get traded, and they will get a pretty decent package. Daryl Morey has been known to kind of make something out of nothing, so it's not going to happen with the Clippers, which has been the
I don't know,
talks.
man. We'll see.
But even then, they get Terrence Mann, and like I think I think is he at James Harden level?
Friend of the
No.
podcast.
But a friend of the podcast, I've seen him play basketball before. Anyways,
That's why I said
so
that.
shout out Terrence Mann. But anyways, I just think that whatever they get will not probably be as good, but I think Embiid is that good. Tyrese Maxey is that good. I think they made some offseason moves that will help a little bit, and I think whatever help they get from whatever trade may happen, or if Harden stays, I think he will play relatively well. So that's why I have him at the 4th seed.
I hear you.
Yeah. So who do you have at the 4th seed?
My 4 seed was the New York Knicks. So yeah, touching on this a little bit. I think this team had a good season last year. I think Jalen Brunson kind of proved people like, yep, I am the guy if you need me to be the guy. I'm a little worried that Julius Randle has a down season, because the last 3 years of his career was All NBA, not great season, All NBA. So I'm worried the not great season is coming, but hopefully he can keep that All NBA production consistent. They got rid of Obi Toppin, of course, who I talked about for the Pacers, and he, just kind of was never going to work out because Randle signed there and they play the same position. But I think with their big rotation of Randle and Mitchell Robinson, they have Jericho Sims and
Hartenstein.
Oh yes, I totally forgot about Hartenstein.
Yeah, he's
yeah,
good.
so
He's good.
I like their team a lot. I'm hoping, I'm still an RJ believer. I kind of talked about that in my ISO episode a long time ago. So yeah, I think regular season wise, I think they'll be pretty good. And
Cool.
also, I kind of rooted for 4 and 5 New York Atlanta rematch in the first round.
I would love that. I do want a rematch with Knicks and Hawks in the playoffs, or no matter where it is. I do want that to happen. That was such a fun
may or may
series.
not have influenced my seating a little bit.
Hey, it's all right. It's the same. We had the same 3 interchangeable, but now we're going to get into the top 3, and this is where I'm really curious if we have the same top 3. So who's your number 3?
My number 3, the Cleveland Cavaliers.
That's what I'm talking about. That's my boy. Okay.
These guys got punched in the face in the playoffs by the Knicks. But I do think regular season, like, again, you just read the starting 5. Garland, Mitchell, Struess probably, Mobley, Allen, so good. And then off the bench, you still have Karis LeVert, you have Isaac Okoro, you have George Niang, who they also signed. Lot of talent there in Cleveland, I think, and a lot of young talent.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that can still grow. I mean, they finish as I think it was the 4 seed last year. Knicks were 5 seed, yeah. And that most of their roster is really young, so you can still see growth from Mobley, Garland, those guys, and I think their offense is going to be awesome. I think um, Garland, Mitchell, either of them have the ball in their hand, then you have Allen and Mobley setting screens and stuff. That's going to be great. And then on the other end, if you have Allen, the paint, and Mobley, um, I think he'll probably do a lot of like wing guarding, like Tatum's and people like that. But you have Allen the backup. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really good regular season team. I think they have the depth to sustain it in 3 or 2 as well.
Absolutely. I agree. I also have the Cleveland Cavaliers as my 3rd seed for all the same reasons you said. I think they're the same team last year, but better. And same as the Knicks, I hope they really just address some postseason, mishaps and things like that. But fun team. They're going to be great this year. I'm very excited for that.
I think Strus filling in at the 3 is really important for them.
I think that was absolutely perfect for them. And who have my 2nd seed?
Let's
Here we go. You ready? I think it's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay.
Oh, you don't? Okay. You're not letting me know.
I haven't let you know.
Okay. I think it's the Bucks and not the Celtics, just because I think the Bucks may have some stars that rest a little bit, and I think they're more concerned about the postseason in the first place. I think they are going to be so good in the regular season that they're going to kind of coast and still get 2nd seed, which is so funny to say. But that's how I view that team. What can I say? You got Dame, Giannis, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, the GOAT, Pat Connaughton, Chris Middleton, Cash Money. I mean, they're going to be a great team this year. And I just think they are going to be the 2nd seed.
I hear you.
But you could argue 1st seed easily, but
sure. Yeah, I will not be doing that because I have the Milwaukee Bucks as my 2nd seed. I think when you look at the top 2 as obviously Boston, Milwaukee. Milwaukee finished a game above them last year, but with the Dame trade, I think the depth can be a bit of a question. Like you mentioned, stars resting and them coasting. I do think all of that's a factor. Middleton has had health injuries the last couple of years. Brook Lopez is 92 years old. Giannis is a big guy. If he takes a wrong fall or something, you can worry about that. But they still have the star level talent to sustain. I just don't think, I think you made a really good point. It's not about the regular season. It's about the playoffs. Twice in the last 4 years, they've been punked by the Miami Heat in the first round as the higher seed, once in the bubble, and just this last year as the 1st seed. So I think the record is not going to matter too much for them. But I still predict them ending in the 2nd seed just because I think their top end talent is that good.
Absolutely. And now, who do you have at number 1?
Who do I have at number 1? Well, there's only one team left. The Boston Celtics, I think, will finish with the best record in the East. Why? Well, they have a lot of good guys on their team. Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Porzingis. I think that's a really strong 5 there. And then you have some pieces off the bench. I think Pritchard is kind of coming into his own in this preseason. He's been doing pretty good. I just think Boston has the enough depth to sustain a guy, missing. And I think this sounds weird, but I feel like if Drew Holiday or Jaylen Brown goes out, or Tatum even, the other guys can kind of absorb their roles in a better way. Like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown play very similar positions, so I feel like the usage rate for the other just becomes higher if one of them is out. Whereas the Bucks is if Giannis goes out, we can't replace that. We just have to change how we operate entirely because he plays such a different way than everyone else.
Yeah, no, I have the Boston Celtics as the 1st seed as well for all the same reasons you said. I feel like if Jaylen Brown can take a day off here and there, Jason Tatum can, and they will still be able to sustain that just level of excellent basketball. And again, it is about the playoffs at the end of the day. And I just think they will be kind of coasting throughout the year and end up at the 1st seed. I just think they are better put together as a team to sustain throughout the regular season. So yeah, that's our Eastern Conference.
All right. That was
Wow,
pretty similar. That was pretty similar.
I'm
I
pretty
don't think the
pretty
West
happy
is going
about
to go
that.
like this, but you know,
The West is gonna right now. We're smiling and happy. In 5 minutes, we're gonna be fighting through the screen. That's for sure.
do you want to do an Eastern recap of your 1 to 15?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
I just don't. Listen back if you want to hear it. I want to get into the West. This is gonna be more interesting.
Okay. I
I feel
started
like
the East, so
you want to
let's
start
have
the West.
let's have you start
All
the
right,
West. Let's hear it. Who do
and
you have as
I
the worst team in the Western Conference? Let's hear it.
the worst team I have in the Western Conference next year is the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
I think that they are a team that's finding their identity. They just got their next franchise player. They did. So now they are going to figure out what's going to work with them, what's not going to work. They're going to try different things. They signed some players, like I said, Devin Vassell, Zach Collins for a little bit longer contracts. See how that's going to go. They don't need to win. They're not going to try to win. They might be like the Jazz last year. I feel like because I saw some preseason stuff and they are pretty good, but I think teams will be able to address concerns. I think they're gonna maybe they'll win some games in the beginning and then lose a whole bunch, and then that's gonna be the San Antonio Spurs season. But what about you? Who do you have at 15?
Yeah, for 15, I also have the Spurs. I think it's their I like you said, there's no reason to win. You just got your guy, number one guy. It doesn't hurt to have another guy next year though. To keep adding to the young core you have. We've talked a lot in this podcast about their pieces, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Zach Collins, Jeremy Sohan. I feel like we talked about the Spurs more than I would like to talk about the Spurs. But it's kind of like how I view the Rockets have been over the last several years. It's like, oh yeah, they got a lot of young talent and like it's really exciting. And then they got there and they're 20 and 62. And it's like, how did that happen? I don't know. They played young, fun talent, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily winning basketball, especially
Exactly.
with a Western Conference heavy schedule of all these teams that I think we'll get to and talk about really competing and trying to push for the playoffs. I think the Spurs are, one of two or three teams that's like, yeah, that's not us. So we're just going to lose a lot.
Yeah. So who do you think is going to be just a little bit better than the Spurs? Who's going to be 14?
Who I think is going to be a little bit better than the Spurs at 14, just because I think they have a little more established talent, the Portland Trailblazers. That's why I have at 14. The reason I have them at 14, they want to lose. This is the only team on here that I'm like, they need to lose. Like they're like, I didn't even think the Spurs necessarily need to lose. They just don't want to win. The Trailblazers have been in this mediocrity of the Damian Lillard saga of, okay, like they got to the conference finals 1 year. The rest of that time, it was, barely missing the playoffs. It was first round exit, second round exit. Never good enough to be a real contender. Never bad enough to have a number one pick. And then finally this year, they lucked out giving Scoot at 3, and they committed on the rebuild. And thank goodness for that. They've needed it for a while. So I think they're okay with losing. I think this year will be a lot of trotting out guys that, like, let's figure out who Scoot is. Let's figure out how Simons plays without Dame. Let's figure out Shaedon Sharpe. And the reason I ultimately put them above the Spurs is because they have Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, some established guys that may be a little better, but even those guys I feel like are going to play complementary to the young guys that they're trying to figure out. So that's why I have them at 14. What about you? You didn't scream in joy, so you must not agree with me.
I think you made some great points. I have the Utah Jazz as my 14th seed. I just a team also that they might try to win. I just don't think they have pieces to actually win. Sure. Is the thing. I think Lauri Markkanen is obviously like a bright spot in that, and he's going to shine again this year. And I think him and Walker Kessler are going to be really interesting as the front court. I think they have issues with the backcourt. I don't know who they're trying. They got Colin Sexton, Keontae George, who are players I like, but I just don't know. I don't think they know what they are and want to be. Plus their city jersey, or not their city jersey, their normal jerseys are bad. So that's why they're 14.
Actually, the worst in the NBA.
Actually, the worst, and that's not even a competition. So I just don't think I think who actually I at 13, which I'll just get into it, is the Blazers.
Okay.
So I think they're going to have similar seasons. I like the Blazers a lot. I'm seeing them Wednesday. Like I said, I'm very excited to see Scoot and DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant and all that. But everything you said is correct. They're going to try some things out. I think they have greater individual talent compared to the other ones. I think Jazz and Blazers is super similar to me, but I just like the Blazers at 13 a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, but who do you have at 13?
This hurts my heart. I have the Rockets all the way at 13.
Oh,
The
okay,
Houston
okay.
Rockets. Yeah, so this was tough for me. I really wanted to put the Rockets higher, and I look at every other team in the West. Wow, why are all these teams so good? And yeah, I think I'm really excited for the Rockets season. Let me say that. I think the Jabari jump could be real. I think Tari Eason could be very valuable. I think Jalen Green can maybe, take a step in the star direction. And I'm not saying he'll be an all-star, but he can start being an efficient, 25 point per game scorer or something. That would be crazy. And yeah, Şengün, I just think with the veteran presence of Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet, Jeff Green even, I feel like the Rockets will finally start looking like a team. What I mean by that is when I talked about the Wizards earlier, like it's just like ISO ball, chuck ball, like they weren't playing winning basketball though. The Rockets the last couple of years, and I feel like this will be the first year where they try to figure that out. However, in the loaded West, I don't think it will amount to a super successful season unless somebody takes like a super jump that I'm not expecting.
Yeah. Okay. And so who do you think is going to be a little bit better than the Rockets then?
So here at number 12, that is where I have the Utah Jazz.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so not 2 spots higher than you. So I guess I'm a little higher in the Jazz, and you touched on it already, but really it's because of Lauri Markkanen being an all-star last year. I think again, it's kind of like when I compared the Hornets to the Pistons. It's like Lauri Markkanen is the best guy on both of those teams. So having the best guy makes me think your team might be a little bit better. And I actually think the Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, Walker Kessler front court can be pretty good. And then you have some depth with Kelly Olynyk, and then yeah, you mentioned issues the backcourt. I know one man that will be good, and that's Jordan Clarkson. That guy has been really good for them the last couple of years, even like as a veteran on a younger team. I'm also very high on Keontae George from his summer league. He was awesome. I don't know how much playing time he'll get right away, but he was really good. And yeah, I guess I just liked some of their pieces, and maybe I'm also a little bullish on the hot start they had last year. I just think they have a little more developed talent that will probably hold them a little higher than the Rockets.
Okay. Totally makes sense to me. I have the Rockets at number 12.
Okay. So the same four,
the same
but
bottom four. Same bottom four. Cool. And for all the same reasons, you said is why. Well, I think they're a little bit higher for me just because I think that veteran presence is going to just elevate them that much. And not into playoff contention. I don't think they're going to be in the play-in, but I think they're going to be they're going to be better. That's basically all I can say. I just think that the other teams are just a little bit worse, and I don't think they'll be able to provide as much. And I'm also thinking about like if these star players will need a rest, Rockets are just going to be playing their guys because they're just going to be playing and hooping. But that's who I have at number 12. And again, these are all kind of interchangeable. But
this is where it gets hard for me. This is where it gets
number
really
11,
hard for me.
Number 11 is my hottest take.
I know what you're going to say.
Hottest take. I don't know if you do.
I know what you're going to say.
At number 11, I have the LA Clippers.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it was like
no way.
I do.
Okay, I think it's the Clippers. I think it's the Clippers because I think Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and for the Clippers has failed. They made it to the Western Conference Finals, and that is it. And I don't think this year is going to change anything. I think they are just going to lose their identity and their just everything entirely because they have just not been able to surround these guys with enough talent. And I don't think they're going to get James Harden, and I don't think it's going to help that much because it's just going to be too front loaded. And then where's the depth? I like Russell Westbrook a lot. He's going to be who I'm going to be watching for. I don't think I'm just worried about their stars. and I think they're going to be taking a lot of time. And I just don't see them. I like the other teams more. I'm just going to say it. I think the other teams are better,
I hear
and
you.
that's it. Okay, yeah. Who do you have at 11?
Is it my turn? Yes, it is
Yeah,
my turn.
I just jumped up. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. This may be my hottest take of the entire
Okay,
thing. I don't know if you're ready
don't
for
hurt
this.
me. Don't hurt me.
Number 11. I have the Grizzlies. Okay, hear me out. Steven Adams, season-ending injury. John Morant out 25 games. So you're rolling the season with starting lineup that's like Marcus Smart, probably Desmond Bane, Zaire Williams, Luke Kennard. I don't know. Somebody's playing the three. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Xavier Tillman, Santi Aldama. Like I, Brandon Clark's injured as well. He's not back yet. I don't know when he'll be back. So I think what this season, the reason I put 11, this is the team I jumped around the most. I had them all the way up at like 7 probably. But the thing I worry about the most, or the thing I think about the most, is the year that the Warriors drafted. Previously, the Warriors drafting James Wiseman. Steph Curry broke his hand like 5 games into the season, and they just said, "That's it, cut it. We're cutting the season." And then they had the number 2 pick and like the number 7 pick. I feel like this could be that year for the Grizzlies. I think with the Ja suspension and the Adams injury for the year, maybe it's a let's take a year off, let's get healthy, let's regroup, let's find our identity, and then next year we'll come back and be awesome. That's my case for the Grizzlies being the 11th seed.
Okay, okay. Great point. I think that's a great point. Who do you have as your 10th seed?
I can't wait to hear like my number 4 seed is the Grizzlies.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry.
My 10th seed. Your take is not that hot. My 10th seed is where I have the Clippers. I'm pretty low on them too. I had them at the 11th seed at when I originally made this. So I dropped the Grizzlies all the way down here. So yeah, the Clippers. I don't know if they'll get James Harden. I don't know what's going to happen. I think, you know, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. I'm excited about those guys, but how much will they play? Russell Westbrook plays, but the other two, who knows? I don't know why I said Russell Westbrook, like he's part of the big three. I think my issue with the Clippers is they're old. Like their stars are old and their depth is old. Norman Powell is old. Robert Covington is old. Zubac, he'll be awesome. We talked about him. We like him a lot. But it's like a lot of those guys are old, and the young guys they have, like Terrence Mann, I think is fine, but everyone else, like Amir Coffey or Brandon Boston, are just guys that are not proven and not who I think you want to roll out for a contending style team. And I mentioned this when I texted you earlier today. I considered things like injury and trade possibilities when making the standings, and I don't think it's possible to consider a Clipper season without an injury because it happens every year.
Exactly. And I've been through enough of being in LA, like and going to the games. I've seen Kawhi Leonard. I've been to quite a few Clippers games.
Yeah.
And I've seen him play it once. I've seen Paul George play 2 or 3 times. Like I have a pretty big sample size, like 6 or 7 games. And
Yeah.
like that's pretty bad. When I see Terrence Mann play every time, that's pretty bad. Anyways, I'm not gonna dwell. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know we're trying to move forward. So
You're good.
Who I have as my 10th seed,
Let's hear it.
Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, so I think they're going to be. I like them a lot. I think they're going to be really good. I just think the other teams that I'm going to mention might have a better regular season, but I think the Thunder might or will make the playoffs. I think they're going to be in the 7 to 10 range because I think the top 6 are just that good. But I mean, we've talked about him. You got Lou Dort, Shea. You got Chet Holmgren looking good. Like they're going to be a force to reckon with, and they're going to be fun. They're young, and yeah, that's who I have at my 10th seed.
Yeah. What about
and my 9th seed?
Yeah,
I have the New Orleans Pelicans.
Okay.
I'm thinking about if Zion. I'm considering. I'm pretty much sure Zion's not going to play a lot of the season. I don't know. I just
it's
that's
three or 4 seasons. It's happened.
Yeah, that's what that's what I'm going into with, and I
Right.
think even without them, they are a very good team, as we've talked about before. I think they're going to make it into the plan, and they've basically have the exact same team as they have had the last few years. So I hope Zion plays the whole season because then this number goes up a lot. But the thing is, I'm just assuming he's not gonna play as much as you'd think. So who do you think is the ninth seed?
Yeah, I'm gonna switch things up here. My ninth seed is the New Orleans Pelicans. Yeah, so it's the same thing, right? I'm so worried. Like I read the roster on paper: CJ, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, Zion, Valanciunas. That's awesome. Trey Murphy, that's awesome. Yeah, Jose Alvarado, other guys on the bench. Like the team is good, but they're never good because they never play. You mentioned Zion injury, which is very obvious. Everyone that is even a casual fan of the NBA, I feel like, knows Zion is not healthy often. I think he's played 33 or 36 or something percent games in his career, like something crazy. Um, However, Brandon Ingram also having injury concerns the last couple of years. Trey Murphy is out for like the first 8 weeks of the season. So it's one of those things where the roster on paper looks good, and then we get into the season and somehow they manage to fall flat. I think this team is one of the ones with the bigger range of outcomes. If you told me their roster is fully healthy and they finish as the 3 seed, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I can see it. If you told me that two of their stars got injured and they finished as the 12 seed, yeah, I could see that too. So, um, tough. It's tough to predict.
Yeah. You know what else is tough to predict? The eighth seed.
My 8 seed, yeah, I tell you, this 5 to 11 range drove me crazy. Uh, okay, 8 seed. This is where I have the Mavericks. Uh, Dallas Mavericks, baby. Yeah, here's the thing. Luka, top 5 player in the NBA, sure. Kyrie, top 20 talent, top 5 drama in the NBA, absolutely. Um, After that, I got no clue what's going on with this team. There's not a lot to be excited. You got rid of a lot of the role players that I think really helped. Reggie Bullock, I think, as bad as his hair is, was a good 3-point shooter for this team. Dorian Finney-Smith, of course, I traded for Kyrie. He was awesome. Now you're relying on the Dwight Powells of the world, the Maxi Klebers of the world, guys that I just don't think you want in your like core rotation for a contending run. Guys that are fine role players in the regular season, but typically like these are the guys that okay, we're taking our rotation from 10 to 8, so like you're out. But except that's like guy number 5 in the Mavericks, so it's like you can't be out. And they got some young guys too. Derek Lively, I think may actually start sooner than we think over Dwight Powell. Well, that's what we always say, and then Dwight Powell ends up starting. Yeah, I just think the depth after Luka and Kyrie, and I guess Grant Williams, you can throw him in there. Josh Green, like after 5, 6 guys, it gets pretty murky, and I'm a little worried about that for regular season record wise. What about you?
Yeah. So at the eighth seed, I had the Dallas Mavericks.
Whoa.
For changing it up a little bit, I know. So for all the same reasons you said exactly, I think that now that Luka and Kyrie have had time to play together, and they are going to play a whole season together, they're going to be unstoppable on offense because of that. The thing is, after them, who's going to be that guy? Is Josh Green going to have that breakout season, be the third best guy? Who knows? Maybe that'd be great. Grant Williams is going to be unlocked. He was great on the Celtics. Is he just going to be even better on the Mavericks? He'll probably be about the same, but it makes me excited. And I think they are a good enough team to be in the playoff talks, more play-in talks, really. But yeah, after that, who knows? I just think everyone above them, like I said, just has more people. And one of those teams that has more people, Minnesota Timberwolves.
Number 7.
Number 7, Minnesota Timberwolves. So I watched a little bit of their preseason, and it seemed like to me that they finally unlocked Gobert and Cat. Like they after playing a season, I wouldn't say unlocked because they're not unstoppable, but they can be on the floor together and they're not terrible as at least from the eye test.
Right.
And Anthony Edwards is going to make another jump. Love his game. Talked about all the time. Mike Conley's there. He has that link with Gobert. They've been playing for years. That's great. Jaden McDaniels is healthy. He's going to be playing with them. I like Troy Brown Jr. He's there too. They also got Shake Milton from the 76ers, and he's also great. He's going to be coming off the bench. So I'm excited about them, really. And I think they can make some noise in the West. And I think they have a lot to prove. But who do you have at the 7th seed?
Yeah, at the 7th seed, this is a 3-spot difference. I have the Thunder all the way up at 7. So kind of like I had the Pacers in the 7 in the East. I have the Thunder in the 7 at the West, which of course the West is a little more loaded, so harder of an argument to make, but I think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander finished top 5 in MVP voting. I don't think that was a fluke. I think he is maybe not top 5, maybe top 10. Kind of level player, and I think like they're like the 10 seed last year, the 9 or 10 seed, and I feel like their team is so young that they are going to experience so much growth from their guys, from Giddy. Like you mentioned, they add Chet. They have Luke Dort. They have J Dub. They have a lot of guys to like on their team. I also wonder, and this may not be this year, when does the consolidation come? They have so many young guys, so many picks still, like an absurd amount of picks still in the next several drafts. When do we pair a Dort and whoever plus 3 picks for like a star to put next to the guys? Could this be the year? Maybe. But I think they will make a jump. I think they're looking to win. I think with all the picks they have from other teams, there's no reason for them to try to tank. I feel like they have most of their core guys already, and they've been consistent enough that I feel like they can steadily keep growing.
Absolutely. No, I love that.
So a little high on them.
A little high, but deservedly so. I think they proved that last year, and now they're just going to be even better. So who do you think? So that's the play-in. We covered a play-in. Who do you think is going to be the 6th seed in the Western Conference?
I do want to say, before I say my 6th seed, you still have not mentioned the Grizzlies, but I had it at 11. So that's interesting. That's interesting. That's going to be our biggest gap in this episode.
It definitely will be, and it's because I'll talk about it when we get to it.
Sure.
So who do you think is the 6th seed?
My 6th seed is where I had the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah, I am really excited about this team. I know you're very bullish on Anthony Edwards, probably even more so than me, but I really think he could take a top 15 to 20 player leap. I was listening to a different podcast, and it's like somebody said like top 8, and then the other person on the show just listed like Luka, Giannis, Embiid, Jokic, this. He listed like 12 guys, and I was like, oh yeah, he's probably not going to be better than any of those guys. But I can definitely see him being that alpha level player. Like you said, Captain Gobert, after a year of what was a mess, it seems like they can finally get it to work. And then you plug in, McDaniels and Conley. That's a really good starting 5. And you mentioned some depth pieces already coming off their bench. Yeah, they were the 8 seed last year. Very common thing. The Nuggets mentioned their toughest playoff opponent was the Timberwolves, which I thought was interesting because the Timberwolves only won 1 game. But I guess it was just the way they played them. So I can see some growth from their stars this year, and a top 6 finish. I feel like is definitely in the realm of possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And who I have at the 6th seed is the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay, here we go.
So this
the is same top 5.
So you made a lot of great reasons about why you think they're going to drop that low. I don't think they're going to drop that low. I could see them getting into the play-in.
Yeah.
I think just because they do have enough pieces. I think adding Marcus Smart was great, even before knowing like Steven Adams was going to be out. Just having someone else that can handle the ball there, and like you mentioned, they have Luke Kennard. I just feel like with Desmond Bane, Ja Morant's not going to be out forever. He will be back this season, and he's going to be healthy. I think they might have a rocky beginning, but I think they'll pick up again. Last year they didn't have Steven Adams for a while, and they ended up at the 3rd seed. So this is hoping no one gets injured, and obviously, like, if you want to be realistic, someone might take some time out. But I think they're going to still be good. I think they're going to be somewhere in the middle, closer to the 6th. I just feel like they have the team with the experience. They've just kind of been fighting the last few years, and I think they're going to keep fighting. So that's why I think 6th seed. The 5th seed is when I get really excited. This is when I get really excited. You know why?
Sacktown.
LA Lakers, baby. I got the LA Lakers.
Nice.
Because I think the Lakers are 5th, because they are definitely a regular season team. Kind of how I mentioned, like for the Bucks and the Celtics. They are thinking playoffs. That's all they are thinking. And I know after being in the play-in for the last 2 years, they do not want to be in the play-in again. So I think they are going to be coasting as long as they are in the 6th seed or above. And I think they do not care either way. I think they are good. They are a very good, well-structured team compared to last year. We're not even going to talk about it. They're a lot better this year. And I think they're going to end up top 5. I put the 5th because they are usually a little bit lower than what I think, because I like to put them pretty high. But I think 5th seed is reasonable. Who do you have as a 5th seed?
Yeah, that's where I have the Kings. You kind of spoiled it. I thought when you said excited for some reason, I was like, oh, the Kings. We're both always so excited about the Kings. Yeah, I expect a little regression for the Kings. I think it's natural when you make that jump all the way up to no playoffs, the top three seed. Expecting the top three seed again, I feel like is unrealistic. Because it's not that it was a fluke per se, but like you mentioned earlier with the Nets, I believe it was, they could catch teams off guard last year because it was like, oh, it's the Kings. Now it's like, oh, they were top three seed, light the beam. Everyone was freaking out about them. That they'll be a little bit ready, but I still do love their team. I think Halliburton for Sabonis may continue to be one of the win-win trades in the NBA, even though Halliburton had so much value. But the Fox and Sabonis fit has been great for their offense. I think we projected De'Aaron, I believe, as our fifth S tier point guard this year. So we
Yeah.
believe in him. We believe in the jump there. And then the pieces around Keegan Murray had a really good rookie year. I think sophomore year will. Oh, wait, was last year's rookie year? Is this his third year, or is this his
I
second?
think I think this is his sophomore year. I think
Okay, yeah, yeah,
he was a I was gonna say freshman last year. He was
freshman.
a rookie last year.
Yeah, so I'm excited about his jump. And yeah, I think this team is going to be pretty good in the regular season. I just had the four teams above in kind of a different tier.
Yeah, I get that. And now it's my turn to say my fourth seed. No. Now what's
My
your
fourth
fourth
seed.
seed?
Yes,
Yeah. So what's your fourth seed?
my fourth seed. Okay, this one was easy for me in terms
Okay.
of I had I had the top four teams, one of which you've already talked about, uh, in the tier of like these guys are definitely the real legit contenders in the West. This was the easiest one to put at fourth. The Suns. I have the Suns here at four. Here's why I have the Suns at four. Um, they got three guys in the roster, and that's it. No, it's Kevin Durant who has been injured every year seemingly since he entered his 30s for some amount of time. It's Bradley Beal who struggled with injury the last couple of years, and Devin Booker who has also been banged up here and there. So I think that one of them's out, the other two are good enough to keep them afloat. If two of them are out, we're in major trouble. Because you look back to the Suns, and this obviously is when Booker was not as developed as a player, but like his first like 5 years in the Suns, they had like 17 wins every year because they just weren't very good. So I'm not saying he like now prime Devin Booker is obviously better and can probably, be a more successful team, but obviously, they had a lot of minimum signings and a lot of guys that they're just kind of bringing in and trying to string together. But regular season wise, I think, like you mentioned, for some other teams, they're not as concerned. I think they're going to try to keep their stars healthy for the playoffs, and then the playoffs is when they'll really kind of buckle down, lower their rotation. So that's why I had them below the top three that we're going to talk about, or that I'll talk about here in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
What
makes
about
total
you?
sense. Yeah. I never thought about it that way, which is very interesting. I have the Sacramento Kings as my
Okay.
fourth seed.
So we swapped those two.
So a little bit of
Yes.
regression. Yeah, we
Oh
swapped
no
those
no no no!
places.
You haven't
Well,
talked about Phoenix yet. They're
I've not
higher.
talked about Phoenix yet.
Okay.
They're higher. But Sacramento Kings, I obviously we like a lot. They are going to regress a little bit, but I think they are built, and I like their team a lot. They added some pieces that I think will help them, and I think they're going to be really good. That's all. I mean, besides what you said, I just think they're going to end up being that high, fourth seed. But the top three, I had a little bit of difficulty.
Okay.
These are like the toughest ones for me, which is interesting. Well, it was all tough, but at my third seed, I have the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have the Golden State Warriors there just because I wish I could put them lower, but the thing is with Steph in his prime and Clay playing well, Draymond Green playing well, even though I think he's gonna miss like
Yeah.
the first week or so. They're still good. Jonathan Kuminga is an NBA player now. Like he is good.
Looking very good in the preseason for sure.
Absolutely. Kevon Looney is going to be getting those rebounds that you don't understand how, but he's going to keep getting them. And they have Chris Paul now to run their second unit. So, for however he does it, Chris Paul does keep teams afloat, even if it's like you have like Moses Moody on the wing. You know what I mean? Like for some reason, you're able to elevate the game. So I just think they're going to end up
Not a name I was
maybe.
expecting to hear today.
Yeah, it's the only one I could pull out from right now. But I think they're gonna be the third seed. That's what I think. Who do you think is gonna be third?
I agree. I have the Warriors at 3. Yeah, so I think originally I had this team at 2, and then I remembered that Draymond's gonna be out for a little bit, and I also remember that Steph Curry, even though he plays like a god, is like 37 years old, and at some point will start resting or something maybe. And I know
No,
they haven't extended Clay yet. I know there's been some not like bad blood, but there's been some issues there, not extending Clay. What's up?
I will say just on that note, I read today that talks with Klay Thompson have ended. So
Oh,
they're
that's bad.
yeah. Yeah. So just like that's what I
Yeah.
read today on Bleacher Report is that talks between them are dead, is what it said.
Yeah, so not a
So
good sign.
not a good sign.
I do like the Chris Paul addition to run the second unit, like you mentioned. I think they're starting 5 of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, Looney when all healthy. One of the best in the NBA for sure. And yeah, I think like 3 seed is relatively realistic. Last year they finished as like the 6 seed, but that was with Wiggins out for a lot of the year, and I think he is really important to their regular season success, especially.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I can guess we have the second seed, but so who's second?
That's right, baby. Los Angeles Lakers. I have it number 2. I'm the
All
Lakers fan on this
right.
podcast.
Hey, what the hell? I'm the Rockets fan.
See, it's interesting. I did this and I was like, why are the Lakers so high on my list? And I just think like last year, they had a relatively low finish. Like you said, they probably want to avoid the play-in. I think Anthony Davis had spurts last year. He looked really good. I think LeBron is very old, but also good. However, I think this is the first year that the Lakers have okay depth. This is why I have them all the way at 2. They can afford to rest LeBron and AD and be okay. They got Gabe Vincent. They got Austin Reeves back. Rui from his playoff run is looking really good. They have Vanderbilt, who I'm pretty high on, but has like a bruised heel or whatever. He's been out
He's
for
gonna miss. Yeah, he's
yeah.
gonna miss like I think the first week. Yeah.
They had Christian Wood, who probably shouldn't play unless Anthony Davis is on the fort. I just combined floor and court, said fort. But yeah, I think this team, I'm more excited about the outside pieces than I feel like I have been in the LeBron AD era, and that's why I have them all the way up at 2.
That's a great reason. Also, Torian Prince. He's been looking really good
How could I forget
preseason.
about
Yeah, they're actually talking that he might be the
Timberwolves
starting
legend
4.
Torian
Exactly.
Prince?
Eight threes in a row, and now he's on my Lakers. So let's just hope he continues to make threes.
When I have a question. When earlier when I said here's my hot take and you said don't break my heart, you think I was gonna say the Lakers at
Yeah.
11?
I was confused.
Now I
Hey,
have
like
it 2.
LeBron is done. He's washed. AD last year was a fluke.
My
He's
my
not
hot
gonna.
Grizzlies take is solely on the like let's chill for a year
And that was honestly that makes a lot of sense. It's probably a
because
hot take just because they've been good, but I get it. And it's that crazy.
let's hear your top 2.
So yeah, my second seed, I have the Denver Nuggets.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so my first seed is obvious, but I have Denver Nuggets just because I mean they're great, and I don't think they were the first seed last year without even trying. So I think they're going to be doing that again this year. They're just going to make it to the playoffs, and then they're going to take it as it comes. They have a winning formula now. They lost some pieces, so I'm a little bit concerned. But they have, you got arguably like 4-time MVP and Jokic, could be 4-time MVP.
Right.
And you still got Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, the pieces that really matter. Even though that Bruce Brown hole will be obvious, I think. I just think they're going to be the second seed. And then as my first seed, I have the Phoenix Suns. And for the same reasons why you said like they're going to kind of coast, I see a lot of time where one player will sit out and they'll be able to be just really good in the regular season. I think also Grayson Allen looked really good in the preseason. So I know, trust me saying that does not make me feel really good. But I think that I also Frank Vogel's a really good coach. So I think they're going to find
Lakers
a way.
bias. Lakers bias.
Lakers bias, but I think they're going to find a way to play defense well enough because their offense is going to be on such a high level that they will be able to have the first seed. But all interchangeable. But that's I guess that's kind of a hot take, but that's what I think.
Our top 5
What
are the
about
same.
you?
Just
Yeah,
switched around.
yeah.
Interesting.
So what do you think?
Yeah, my number one, obviously, the Nuggets is who I have. I think they, like you said, they were the first seed last year, and they kind of like the whole like last month of the season. It was like, what are the Nuggets doing? What's happening? That was like a whole media thing that was going on because they were starting to fall apart at the end of the regular season, and it was actually just because they didn't care anymore, and then they went to the playoffs and destroyed everybody.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think really the only meaningful rotation piece I lost, of course, Bruce Brown. I think I talked about it a couple episodes ago or last episode. Julian Strother, he's been pretty good. They got Peyton Watson. They just extended Zeke Nnaji. So I think some of these young guys will have to step up into that role, especially in the regular season, as the Nuggets are trying to prepare for the playoffs. And I think those guys will be serviceable enough as like eighth, ninth men that the Nuggets will still be able to pull out wins. And yeah, I mean, you're taking the championship team and pretty much bringing everybody back with the exception of your sixth man, I guess. So yeah, I think that's good enough to hold the fort and finish as the 1 seed with a walking triple double that is Nikola Jokic.
yeah. I totally see that too. And that was our seeding. We did
That
it.
was our
And
seed. We did it.
honestly,
Wow.
I
Pretty
thought it was
similar.
gonna be. I thought it was gonna be a lot more fighting. But I think I think we both made very good seedings. I do have
Yeah.
to say.
I
I can't wait. My favorite part is gonna be when we revisit this at the end of the year,
yes.
and we're like, "Wow, I can't believe the Grizzlies were the first seed. That's insane."
I haven't been 11 and they finished first. That would be so bad. Oh my
But yeah,
goodness.
that was crazy. That was fun.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah, it's our seeding.
yeah.
We'll see how it works out. NBA starts tomorrow, so we'll do our hot takes next week on like, oh my god, the Pacers are first seed. Like, oh my, we just beat everybody the first week.
Oh, that's a great like idea. Hot first, first week
First
hot take.
impression hot takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be
I
really fun to do.
I
Let
think
us know in
next
the
week,
comments if you want us to talk about that.
please comment on the video. No one ever comments. Comment,
Just
please.
say something.
Say hey.
Anything.
Say hey, I listened. Actually, I look at the I have the YouTube Studio statistics on my phone, and like the last video we had 4 views, and it was like the average watch time was like 6 minutes and 11 seconds, and the video was 2.5 hours long. So I'm like, at some point, people are like, "Yep, that's enough of this. Turn this off."
We're looking good. 6 minutes is a lot. I gotta
We're
say.
keeping that attention for
That's
6 minutes.
it's probably when I screamed the first time. That was probably when it started. Like,
Yeah,
oh, it's that.
2
It's that
episodes
kind of
ago, it was
podcast.
like 30 seconds because it was just welcome. And they're like, "Oh, okay, that's enough of that."
But yeah, that's our rankings.
That's our conference. We're both gonna be 100% right somehow. So I'm excited to
Yeah,
see.
well, definitely our placements are going to be like the same, which is going to be really fun. I
Yeah,
have a feeling. I mean, like top 5 will be top 5,
yeah,
middle will be
yeah.
the middle, and where that ends up is
When the
interesting.
Kings finishes the 14 seed, I'll be devastated. But
You and me both, brother. My Lithuanian brother is just like, what happened, man? He's like, I don't know, man. I don't
my
know.
ribs are still broken.
Draymond broke me. My stomach hurts all the time. But yeah, that is gonna do it for us today. I know we have one more thing. We have one more point of business we have to take care of, and that's the shot. There we go. He's got the
I have the
ball.
ball at the ready.
So
Yes.
make sure to watch this part in particular.
Yeah, you can tune in to I wish I could my prediction is an hour and 43 minutes into the podcast because I think we
So,
started right at 10 and it's now
yeah,
43 my time.
we did good.
9:43 your time. So all right. I gotta get the angle. Last time I threw it straight at the wall. I gotta make sure
There you go.
this is terrible. I hate this.
I'm still not a believer.
Even though I've made it twice.
Yeah,
There it goes. I hit the back.
you had like it was just the angle again, but I believe in you.
Nope, terrible.
I just said I didn't believe in you. Now I said I believe in you. But yeah,
next time we're gonna talk about awards, I think.
Yeah, I think awards will be fun, and then maybe just a little bit of a first week recap.
A little first week. What's happened. And the awards we will try to possibly predict from the preseason. I don't know how much first week basketball will be like. Anthony Simons is averaging 40. He's the MVP. I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, we'll throw those things in there. First week plus predictions. Yeah, make sure you like, comment, share with everybody you know. If you want to take our YouTube channel and like print it out on a flyer and go staple it to telephone poles around your neighborhood, that works too. Whatever works for you is fine.
The grassroots approach is the one we love,
Sure.
and one I don't use very often. But thanks again for listening. Again, like hit us up with any questions if you have any. Let us know what you think the seedings are going to be, what we got wrong, we got right, and
Comment.
and until next time, this has been D&D's two-man game.
Buckets.